From the backstretch at Saratoga, this is Loose on the Lead with Steve Byk and Seth Merrow. Loose on the Lead is sponsored by
Good morning and welcome to the first edition of Loose on the Lead for 2025, as it is Belmont at Saratoga week. And all week long, we have been anticipating the return of Steve Byk for Loose on the Lead. And so it'll be a raucous hour, as it typically is. And a little bit later on, we'll be joined by Cherie Devaux. She had the nice win earlier this week with She Feels Pretty. We'll also talk to Mark Casse, La Cara, Nitrogen, and more. So we have Mark coming up as well. But we're going to kick things off. Hey, the Belmont Stakes and a win by Sovereignty. We have Dan Pride from Godolphin to talk a little bit about the Belmont Stakes and the win by Sovereignty, which was a spectacular capper to the week so far. Dan, good morning.
Good morning. It's great to be here.
And I want you to recap the story. When you sat down, I said, I've liked Sovereignty now for a while. I had him in the Derby. I was thrilled with the price there. I had to stick on board yesterday. But I said I really got on board earlier this year with that Fountain of Youth, where about the middle of the stretch, River Thames looked home free, and Sovereignty ran him down in a spectacular performance.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. It was great to be there. These horses between 2 and 3, they change a bunch, and you never know when they're going to peak. We didn't think he was going to peak in the Fountain of Youth, but he got there, and he built on that. But leading into it, you just don't know what signs they're going to give you. But he had never been a real aggressive workhorse in Florida. That has all changed. I mean, he's gone from a boy to a man, and I think we all saw it yesterday.
The follow-up to the Fountain of Youth was the second in the Florida Derby, and I thought it was a good, race to then lead into the Kentucky Derby. What was your takeaway from the series of Florida races? And Belmont earlier, I caught up to him at the draw and did a little interview, and he said, our game plan was 3 races down in Florida, but we always realized – you can lose one. You guys did lose one, so you got the 2. But give us, you came out of Florida. What were the feelings off the 2 Florida races?
The Florida Derby was the perfect setup where he ran exactly to his style. Gulfstream is not really suited for his style, and he ran against the bias and was very competitive. But the way he galloped out, and really importantly, the way he came out of that race, when he got to Kentucky, he was different. He was much more forward in his training. His work 2 out from the Derby was spectacular. And anyway, he gave the vibes, and he's come through since then.
Yeah, very. And I should reiterate that Fountain of Youth was the short stretch Fountain of Youth.
Short stretch.
That made it even more impressive there. Steve, welcome back.
Thank you. Great to be here. And what a fabulous week we've had. It's been pretty fabulous. And of course, only yesterday's weather mayhem, putting any kind of a crimp in Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. And for those that didn't catch up on everything yesterday, of course, today we've got the 2 Grade 1 turf races. That'll be the only turf races, the Jaipur and the Manhattan shortened to 1 mile and an eighth. So a 13 race card coming up today. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Right now, Dan, this has really been the culmination in a lot of ways of Sheikh Mohammed's, long-term goals, lots of experimentation over the years in terms of the approach to the American Triple Crown Series. Mm-hmm. And that included preparing at Nat Al Sheba and Meydan, going through the UAE Derby, then some morphing, kind of I think almost a distilling of the breeding side of things, still buying some horses, but really this has been a 30-year plus project. I mean, talk about a year-long association with Godolphin and what it means, to Sheikh Mo.
Well, listen, thank you for that. And it takes 3 things. My team is sick of hearing this, but after we have big wins, we do a little get together, and I say, it takes 3 things for this to happen. Number 1, you got to have the founder. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed has put us in this position. And you're right, it has been a journey, and there's been a lot of twists and turns to it. It takes the team, number 2. And we've got an outstanding team at Godolphin who've been with us for a long time and are so committed to trying to represent Dubai the right way. And, that has made a huge difference. And finally, it's the horse. The third thing is the horse. And we are so fortunate to have these horses in the breeding program. Our model has changed to now where we're almost exclusively in America just running homebreds. And now, like Crowned, the mother of Sovereignty, she was a very expensive yearling, never made the races. Beautiful filly, showed talent, but never could get there. And if you kind of look at her breeding history, we bred into Mischief for her first foal. And I think if you research this, Jane Grey was the first foal's name, and she's now one of our mares. She broke her maiden here very impressively for Belmont in her first start. I think she set a record for us. It was 612 days between her first start and her second start. That's a long time.
That is, especially because, and this is interesting, the philosophy that Sheikh Mohammed and his late brother Sheikh Hamdan have about broodmare vitality.
Yes.
And I can recall Kieran McLaughlin 15 years ago asking me, he said, do you think there's any statistics about broodmares, leaving the racetrack after their 3-year-old season versus staying on as 4-year-olds or becoming mares? Because he was trying to convince the boss that it's okay to race them past three.
I know.
But that is part of the philosophy. And the other part of this you can speak to, you mentioned Crowned. This is a Darley product. This comes from the Darley era, and you hear the expression Bernardini mares, and much like Ron Winchell has got the luxury of his program with the Tappet mares and the Gunrunner sire line. You've got a factory operation with the very productive Bernardini mares, and so there's been so much about this success that has got everybody's thumbprints on it. Tom Albertrani's and Bill's and all the different people that have been components of the program.
I love the way you put that, because it is back to the team, and there's so many people that have had hands on these horses for generations that put us in this position.
Sure.
And you can't, and I think that's what's one of the things that's not really understood about racing to the average fan is how much goes into getting a horse like Sovereignty to this spot. And the number of people who have contributed to his development, it's countless hands that have been on this horse. And so that's what makes me proud, is to have a team that can share in this. And you go back to like the generations, it's special.
We'll also fold in Nita Murphy down at Bridlewood Farm, who has enjoyed one of the most remarkable Triple Crown seasons in history, having broken and started their careers, both journalism and sovereignty. It's probably unprecedented, I would imagine.
And I talked to her this morning. I'm so proud of Mita. She is a very special lady. She does an outstanding job, and it's no accident. She's had Cody's Wish. East Avenue is also in the group.
That's right.
It was with Mita. Gunrunner.
Going back.
She's had so many top horses come through her program, and Bridlewood's got a great facility. George Isaacs and everyone there. But Mita's really the secret weapon down there, and I'm so happy for her, and what she's put her team in a position to do.
Won a Triple Crown.
She's won a Triple Crown. She's run 1-2 in every race. It's hard to do.
It's pretty amazing.
For people who aren't familiar, fill in what that part of the process is to get a racehorse to the track after the yearling year, and then they
so
move on.
In human terms, it's like someone going to kindergarten and having to come out in 8th or 9th grade in 6 months. In 6 months. Yeah. So they get down there. Our horses are again, these are all homebreds. They have not been through a lot of those processes like sales horses that are used to shipping around, and they're used to. So our horses are coming in pretty. I mean, they've been handled and they're well mannered, but they hadn't been off the farm. Yeah. So they're getting on a van. They're shipping 12 hours to Ocala, and their whole world changes. And I think the key is those first experiences that they have when they're learning to be a racehorse, because these horses are hardwired, and if they have bad experiences early, you're going to have a hard time rewinding and doing it again. And I think that's where, all our pre-trainers, but, Bridlewood and Mita, they are so conscientious about how those first lessons are going to go. And she's so good about pairing horses, because the other thing, they work in pairs and they work in threes, and you got to pair them the right way. You can't put Tarzan with somebody who's just, going to be 10 lengths behind every time, because that horse that's 10 lengths behind, they'll never get over it. Yeah. So those are all the nuances of bringing a horse along to get the most out of what I'm all about. All these horses reaching their ceiling, and they're all different. Like I tell the novice horse racing fan, not every horse is going to wind up a Belmont horse. They all have ceilings.
Sure.
All you can do is put them in a position to find out where their ceiling is.
And I'm also curious, as trainers in here a lot, and it seems like when you get a good one, like we saw yesterday, 3 good 3-year-olds certainly that are at the top of the class right now. When you get a good one, do you know early? And most of the time the trainers say yes. And I'm just curious, with Sovereignty, were you getting good reports and good feelings early that you had a special horse?
But now, again, I'm very spoiled. Our program spoils me. We get a lot of early reports of this is a good one. And the truth is, most of them are not going to be, I use baseball analogies, most of them are going to be AA players. They're not going to be major leaguers. Now, Sovereignty is an all-star. He's an MVP. But most of them are going to find a level below that. Now, they can fool you. I always say, I used to be, until they work 5/8 out of the gate, you really don't know. Now, until they run the afternoon, you don't know. And so that's kind of how it plays out.
Interesting. You said when you stepped up on the stage here, you've seen him today. How did he come out of the race? How is he this morning?
He is bright. He's got Irma. Irma's over there spoiling him with carrots. He's already had the Beamer blanket on. He's already had the massage wand. He looks great. And we went over last night. A group of us went over after the celebrations here at the track and went to see him. He's out grazing, and he's just, look, he's a very talented horse. He is a magnificent physical. I mean, he is just one of those horses. He's different.
All 3 of these horses.
Yes. Journalism bias, all 3 of them in the paddock they just look different.
It's quite something. And, there's a race today at Churchill. You're participating with East Avenue. We can incorporate him into the next level and into the second half of the year, the post-Triple Crown portion of the year. And we're getting the feeling, 109 buyer, by the way, if people hadn't seen it, getting the feeling that this is a very good crop of 3-year-olds. And not to take an exit ramp into the Triple Crown timing conversation. However, you really get the sense coming out of this that we've got, and I've been saying this forever at this point, we're breeding horses that are much more geared in this era to 9 furlongs to 10 than people want to give American breeding credit for, because you've got all these buying programs. The Avengers, they're buying for classics. Liz Crow and Brad Cox and Brad Weisbord, that team, they've got their Colts program. They're buying specifically for classic horses. You're breeding and working toward classic horses. And then there's people who, like a gun runner offspring, that are out there. We've got so many of these colts out here that are authentic classic horses, and we don't necessarily run enough 10 furlongs, and we'll be back to Belmont soon enough to run 12. But after 3 races at 10 furlongs, 9.5, and 10 furlongs, it should be well appreciated, how much aptitude there is right now for this crop and for this generation of horses. And I'm a little tired of hearing, that we're breeding the, brittle and
They can't stay.
Yeah, I really am tired of it. Anybody that's paying attention should see this.
Yeah, and it's like a track meet, right? Like a day at the races is like a track meet. They're not going to run the same race twice.
I like that.
They have different distances, surfaces, ages.
Yep.
So just like a track meet, the 100-meter person and the miler, they're not going to look the same. They're not going to run the same. And I think what you saw here yesterday is you see horses that fit different distances. And the thing that I was so fired up about, I don't know if you've seen the splits, the 8 splits for Sovereignty. You have to watch a lot of races to see a horse in their last quarter mile.
The last 2 8s.
Break 12 seconds in each of those last quarter or eighth of a miles. That is remarkable.
I saw that on Twitter.
That is just like, I mean, it's staggering. But he's a horse, and you're right. We do try to breed classic horses. You look at our stallion roster. We have horses that have predominantly been 2-turn route dirt horses. That's our shtick. And I think that's what the breed, that's what separates the greats from the really good ones. They got to be able to do that.
I've made the comparison going into yesterday that particularly if Baeza had won, that we were dealing with Street Sense, Curlin, and Hard Spun.
Oh yeah.
And of course, 2 of those 3 are Europe at Ashford Products, and at Ashford Products,
John Abel
Farm Products. That's what I think we're going to end up comparing this group to.
I would love that, and I think if they can have the stallion staying power of those 3, the Street Sense, Hard Spun, Curlin, which are all doing unbelievably well, that would be something else. But you're right, to have depth in the crop, horses that can give each other a run for their money. That's what's special.
We haven't done it yet, so let's fire up the race from yesterday and just give us your thoughts as they go around the track, and particularly when they came into the stretch. And I said, short of a Triple Crown, what we want is these 2, Journalism and Sovereignty, to come into the stretch kind of dueling, and that was there for a while. Then he pulled away, and it was interesting. He was up a little bit closer than you would have expected. And so what were your thoughts as they were going around the track? And as I say, he was in a position that maybe was a little bit unexpected, being up close.
Especially right here. Going into this turn, you can see Junior, and Junior's letting the horse take him there. Now, he's going to try to wrangle him back a little bit. But one of the guys I worked with, we had an over-under on where Sovereignty would be when they passed the finish line the first time. I put the over-under at 4 lengths from the lead, and he was probably right there. And if you looked at the Derby, he's only got, when he comes by the finish line the first time, he's got 2 horses beat in the Derby. To me, Junior's move, and he fits this horse so well, and Junior has come, I mean, he's been on a lot of our good horses, Cody's Wish and now Sovereignty. And I think he is so intuitive about these horses. He knows the horse is more forward, and you watch him right here. He's inside, obviously, of Journalism. He is going to wrangle him back right about now. And he's going to take a little risk now. He's going to let Journalism get about a 2.5.
You just saw
he's wrangling him back.
He raises his back there. Junior does. In other words, he's relaxing. So he's telling Sovereignty, relax right now.
And he's going to let him come back off the hip of Journalism right now. See, Journalism's going to get about 2.5 lengths on it.
Yeah.
But he's going to come outside. He says, "Look, I don't want to mess around. I'm going to let him get the jump." And then, I mean, right here, what is it? 2.5 lengths. Yeah. And this is where the turbo. I call it the turbo. Junior hits him on the shoulder here a couple times, and he's going to straighten him out. And it's just, and you look at the confidence Umberto has. He's like, okay, now this thing's just going to come. Boom.
And right there, well, actually, right there, you see immediately Journalism responds when he gets him into eyesight. He tries to lunge with him, and Sovereignty is gone at that point. 3.5 lengths, and probably in lost ground. Journalism lost about 2.5 lengths, being wide in both turns.
Yeah.
You can be wide in one turn. You can't be wide in both. No. So they're still separated by about a length if we go back to Derby. And these 2 horses, and because Baeza really did not run. He was the disappointment yesterday.
He was a disappointment, to be honest. He was the one that I really thought was going to move forward again.
Exactly.
Because he hadn't, he's less experienced than some of these others.
Yeah.
And he ran a huge race in the Derby to finish that last 8th. But he just, whatever reason, it wasn't his day.
Well, the journalism responds with the third start in 5 weeks, and the two of them, we can't call it. Well, I guess we could almost call it affirmed, Aladar. Let's reconvene here at the end of August.
I hope it's great.
Let's talk about this and let's incorporate. And by the way, before we do that, I want to go back to Junior. Go back to Junior Alvarado, whose career has gone into a second gear here. You mentioned Cody's Wish. Junior, if you go back to the Derby and you followed any of the stories, in fact, Marcus Hirsch wrote a remarkable piece that's going to win an Eclipse Award. Marcus wrote a piece about Junior's career and his confidence level, going into Derby. And part of what we saw in Derby and then what we saw here is essentially, Junior's supreme confidence in the horse and in his understanding of how and when to move and how he's going to respond to his asks. And Junior Alvarado, who's always been a rock solid journeyman, especially when it comes to 2 turns, he's raised his game, and your horses have been largely responsible.
Well, and I think, again, it goes back to him having this intuition that he knows what's under him and being able to make decisions. Like Cody's Wish, I go back to the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland. You needed to be forward most of those dirt races. And he had the confidence in Cody to kind of to trail the field and make this huge 3/8 move. But it goes back, you got to have the horse. Obviously, the jockey is only going to do as well as the horse under him. But they've got to make these decisions to where to put themselves in a race. And like dirt races like this, you lose, you talk about losing ground. Losing ground, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And Junior is so good in both the Derby and today or yesterday about putting the horse in a position where he can save ground. And then when he needs to make a move, he puts the horse in the right spot.
Should also mention, Seth, you were talking about proximity, and journalism was also closer. If you watch the replay, there's very good reason for that. That racetrack was drying out and was slowing down all afternoon. And when it gets like this, it is very tough to make up ground. And everybody's aware of that. All the horsemen, certainly Whitey's aware of it. Everybody that spent any time here knows that in those conditions, and credit to Glenn Kozak and the team to get that racetrack fast by this race, and even to be good for the Woody Stevens, and even when it was wet, fast, and sealed, it was a good track. It was a good track, but it does get very dull when there's no cushion, there's no return off that track.
No, you better be there, and that's and the horse, and you saw Sovereignty. He was on his game. He was not going to trail the field. I mean, Junior didn't ask him to go there.
He took him there. No doubt.
Broke, and the horse just took him there.
There's no doubt.
I just wanted to get, we mentioned Cody's Wish a couple of times, and I just wanted to go back because folks may remember that one. What's it like to have a horse like that is such a fan favorite, had the nice story attached, and that was just an incredible run.
We talk about now the Derby Belmont double with Sovereignty, and it is unbelievably special. Nothing for our team will ever transcend Cody's Wish. Like, that's going to be in a bubble because of the depth of the story and what it meant to all of us. Like, I say this, the Dormans gave us the great gift. The Dormans gave us the gift of letting us go along the ride with them. Like, it's not easy for what they put themselves, like they put themselves in a vulnerable position with their son. And we're still very close to the family. They come out probably every 4 to 6 weeks and see Cody, the horse.
Nice.
And they only live 30 minutes away, but nothing will surpass that for our group. And, he's a serious animal too. He's got foals on the ground. So it's going to be in about 2.5 years. You're going to see him up here running, and it's going to be unbelievable.
And one thing it just occurs to me, because I hadn't thought of it until you talk about the babies that are out there now. The name, Cody's name himself. Cody's going to live on forever in the stud book, and there's going to be Cody and
his dad,
Cody
Kelly Dorman, who's a very special man. He's like, I had one horse to root for with Cody's Wish. I said, now he's got like 100. He's going to have 125. We don't do the mega books. He's going to have 125, 130 foals.
Nice.
he's going to root for all of them.
There you exactly. I'm going to root for East Avenue too. Brendan restarting East Avenue today in what is going to be a fascinating
Grade 3. It's
with 5 Derby horses, and not just 5 Derby horses. The presence of gaming in here. And Dan McKenzie is bringing Just a Fair Shake back, the Tessio and Sir Barton runner-up. Talk about keeping these 2 horses apart and what you're aiming for. I know East Avenue is pointing toward Haskell and maybe an interim spot.
Yeah, he needs to win a race. Like, he needs his confidence back. This horse, he's also talented. He's also beautiful. He has not been as consistent as Sovereignty. Sovereignty, even when he didn't win, he showed up. East Avenue was giving all the signs that he came out of the Derby in very good shape. We thought this was going to be a good spot to get the confidence back, but it is as hard a grade 3 as you're going to find. Burnham Square's, he's going to have a rematch with Burnham Square, and we'll see what happens. Brendan's happy with him. So fingers crossed.
Long range, second half of the year, and long-term goals for Sovereignty. Part of the planning to get to Belmont was with an eye on the intermediate and long-term. Some thoughts about that, and
we talked to Bill really before the Derby. I mean, we talked to Bill about 4 goals for the year for Sovereignty: Derby, the Belmont, the Travers, and the Breeders' Cup. Like, those were the 4 goals before the Derby, and
just some modest
goals. But you got to have goals.
Exactly.
You got to shoot high. I mean, not that we'd win all 4. We just wanted to participate.
So far, so good.
Yeah, we've got 2 of them done. But so it's really for Bill to build a program to be there, and that's what he's very good at. Look, he's as good as anybody of shooting for a day. East Avenue, he needs to run well today. We need to get him back on track in the winner's circle, and then we'll go from there. But the Haskell would make sense because that track and his style should play well together. But let's get through today and see where we wind up.
Let's also talk about do we have Cassie here yet?
Oh, yes.
Cassie is here? All right, then let's make this the lightning round.
All right, go. Fire away.
Well, Stidham has Think Big today, who's the emergent. He could be Cogburn for 2025. That would appear. He's the horse to beat in the Jaipur today. Immersive makes her return in the Monomoy Girl next week.
Yeah, that's what we're excited about both. Immersive, and I guess I can say this politely, like Good Cheer, she disappointed. She didn't run a jump. There's no excuses. She's fine at the barn. And she's been one that's very much been an improving. Immersive from day one. When she left the 2-year-old pre-trainers, this is special. And she looks it. She's going to come back in the Monomoy Girl. Hopefully that goes well next Saturday, and she'll show up here for the CCA.
Nice.
That'll be the goal.
Okay. All right. And
Saratoga.
And then Alabama
for Good Cheer. Like, again, we need to evaluate.
Assuming she's all right.
She'll be the Alabama target, and Immersive will be the CCA, and we'll try to keep those separate if we can, and we'll go from there.
With everything arching toward the distaff.
Everything arching towards the distaff.
Dan Pride and the Godolphin team that celebrated their second Belmont.
Essential Quality, and now, Big Sovereignty.
And he'll be here.
He's going to stay right here. He's going to have home games.
He's not going anywhere else, right?
Yeah, I mean, most logical would be Jim Dandy Travers from here and just run out of his stall. Keep it simple.
Very good.
Well, we appreciate it, Dan. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations to the
Thanks, Steve.
Shake Mo team.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Big win yesterday. All right, we'll take a break. Mark Casse is in the green room, as is Cherie Devaux, so they'll be coming up shortly. Stay tuned. Loose on the Lead continues.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
We're back, loose on the lead on this Sunday morning, last day of the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. And we got a little bit of a bonus to the festival, as the 2 Grade 1s that had been scheduled for Saturday will be run at the end of today's 11-race card, the Jaipur and the Manhattan. Meanwhile, Mark Casse, who has been a force through this Belmont Stakes Racing Festival, La Cara, a upset winner. Not termed an upset winner, but I didn't think it was all that much of an upset. And of course, Nitrogen yesterday getting a chance to flash her chops on the main track after the Wonder Again came off. There's others to talk about, but congratulations, first of all.
Thanks, Steve. I like this Belmont Festival at Saratoga. Can we keep having it?
For at least, well, we'll see about next year. We'll see. The Acorn win, and it's one of the funny circumstances with La Cara. La Cara's big goal was the Ashland. That's what Tracy Farmer, who's been winning big races in those black silks for a long time, that was his big goal. Kentucky Oaks was, certainly a logical, the next step out of that. But the circumstance to come here and run 1 1/8 again, as opposed to the downstate Acorn at 1 mile, I think the one question mark was the 1 1/8 an issue at Churchill? What was the thinking, and talk about La Cara from April till now?
Steve, we took it as she didn't care for the racetrack. Dylan knows her pretty well. He's rode her now. She won. He rode her at Tampa. He rode her at Gulfstream. He rode her at Keeneland. He told me after the race, after the Oaks, she didn't handle it at all. And it was a little, it was different. He came to me in the paddock for the Acorn and said, she's going to handle this track just fine. This is a different mud. I was never really, I never took her poor performance in the Oaks as it being too far. She gave it up too early in the race for the real La Cara. So I never worried about 1 1/8. I think she'll do whatever. She can run 1 1/4. We'll probably get to see that at some point.
A little Alabama hint.
Well, definitely. I mean, we want to. We're going to probably, me, I like to run, so we'll probably come back in the coaching club and then the Alabama. She likes Saratoga as well too.
Well, and that's a part of the storyline. When she arrived here last summer, she was still obviously sprinting. It was early in the career, 5.5 furlongs. When she ran into Kimchi Cat, the nice Amos Dr. Politi filly, but then breaks her maiden in the next race and actually beat Quick Kick in the process. So you and Amos knocking heads. And then she went on to win the Pocahontas and was, in fact, I think I presented the trophy for that.
Oh, did you?
I did.
I think I watched. I was at Keeneland.
That's right. That's right. You were not around. But she's got a very interesting record, actually, because of course, well beaten in the juvenile fillies, where she just never
even showed up, which was amazing to me because I thought she trained very well into the Breeders' Cup, so I was expecting a big performance. Of course, you know, we go out there. We've been doing this for a long time. We go out 4 or 5 days ahead of time, so we don't get a work over the track. I've had great luck doing it that way, but it didn't work for her. Brought her home, gave her a very short time in Ocala, and then her race in the Suncoast at Tampa was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I remember I was in the studio handicapping that day. Saw you in the winner's circle afterwards, and you said she's much better than we saw in that last race as the 2-year-old, and it seemed like you were very excited to get the 3-year-old season underway, and we're very happy with that Tampa race. And I kind of jumped on board her after that race myself this year.
Yeah, and then I knew, you know, I had a discussion with Tracy after the Suncoast, and I said, "What do you want? What is it you want the most?" And he said, "I'd like to win the Ashland." So I said, "Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to run her back in the Devona Dale, I believe it was." I said, "It's back in 3 weeks, and it's not going to work. She's probably going to get beat in there, but it's going to set us up for the Ashland." I just knew back in 3 weeks wasn't great. And also, I don't think Gulfstream suits her that well, not her running style. So, and even Dylan, he rode her in the Devona Dale, and he said, that wasn't the real Lucara. He said she was flat under me that day. And I said, well, that's to be expected. We came back in 3 weeks. But it was a plan for me.
And then the timing from there worked out.
Yeah, I was working on the timing.
Yeah. It was interesting in the winner's circle the other day. You said they can go with us if they want to, and who knows, maybe we both fade, but my horse is going to be out there and make them work for it, certainly. And that seems to be the game plan that is working with Lucara.
Yeah, nobody's going to run with her and be around. Now, it may cost us, but and I have very few horses like that. But if you look at her form, that's where she works best. She might be able to lay just off of somebody, and maybe someday, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody starts sending somebody out to deal with her early, a rabbit of some sort.
Oh, you mentioned a rabbit. Rabbits these days, though, are so uncommon.
Which makes no sense.
Yeah,
I mean, Andy Sterling talks about this all the time. You know, in Europe, it's de rigueur. It's everywhere.
But we're all old, and so we get it.
Ridiculous.
We understand it. But you know, I could see somebody. Most don't have a good enough. You know, I could see maybe where. Maybe Darley or somebody would say, "Hey, come on."
Well, and speaking of which, I don't know how much of the segment with Dan Pride you could hear.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
Well, we talked about their program, and this filly is absolutely a product of their program.
Street Sense Bernardini.
Well, and Cara Caterina, who couldn't run a step.
Mm-hmm.
She was 0 for 8, right, for you?
Right. Oh, she couldn't run a left.
No, and
I keep saying that, and Tracy says, "Don't say that." And
well, it's a fact.
Yeah.
He forgot her. He forgot her record. She was 0 for 8.
Yeah, I'll say that. No, don't say that. And I said, "Well, it's true."
Well, but
I want to go back to, and I will say this. I think for the most, you know, Darley is our first class, and they would maybe not do it just because it wouldn't maybe feel it was sportsmanlike to take a shot at you. They may, but I don't see them doing that.
Tracy, despite that filly, who some people might have culled, he's gone ahead and bred her, and you know, here's a result.
Well, she's a tremendous pedigree. I mean, she's full
out of Pilfer.
Yeah, she's a full sister to Honor and Serve. Yeah. We bought her for $500,000. She just has a tremendous pedigree. Who knows what she's worth now? Lucara is her first fold.
That is her first?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. So
what's behind? What's coming up? Is there a 2-year-old?
I think she has a full brother that's a yearling. And
Street Sense,
yes,
Street Sense Colt.
And Tracy, every day, every time I talk to him, threatens he's going to put him in the sale. And I say, I'll call Carol. Just keep it up.
Let's take a chance and we'll pull up the race here because in the winner's circle afterwards, it was interesting to hear you give your reaction to the race where you kind of commented and talked about Lacara in the Acorn as you were sitting back and looking at the fractions and kind of feeling pretty good, and then you had a little chirp to maybe Dylan as they came around the turn and whatnot. But give us your thoughts.
So I'm watching here and then we lost it. I think that may be Frank's.
What was that?
His hand. I don't know what it is, but I was kind of surprised. I think Irad on the one kind of asked his filly to get out of there so he didn't get too far behind. Then he realized he wasn't going to be on the lead. Right here, I'm watching her ears, and I'm feeling pretty good. 23-2. I don't know. I think I may have had my wife sit next to me or my son, and I said the next fraction is going to be very important. So we're watching, and
there you go,
47. I said, okay, that's okay. Now I start watching for
Good share.
the big filly,
Who never.
Good Charm, and I'm watching her.
She's late.
She doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Irad's asking his filly. This is going through my head,
Yep.
And I'm watching Dylan, and I'm
He's
like,
motionless.
yeah, I think we're going to be tough. Now I know that Good Charm is not going to get there.
No.
So now I'm looking for who's coming, and I don't really see anybody. So right now I start feeling pretty good. She looks like her stride's still very good. She's a beautiful filly, great
Efficient,
moving
huh?
filly.
Yeah. You have to be happy that Shred the Gnar came out.
Very, very happy. Very happy.
Made things a little easier.
And so a couple of days ago, how did she come out of the race? How's she doing now?
Look at her. Wow.
She, knock on wood,
Looks super.
she's super.
Jeez.
Looks good this morning. Looked good yesterday. We just brought her and Nitrogen out and took a picture of the two. There are two new millionaires for us.
Nice.
And she looks good. She is just she's an amazing horse, just loves what she does.
You got the summer plans laid out. Let's talk about a filly that might have some options that opened up as of yesterday. Nitrogen, who was going to be a handful on the turf anyway.
And we can take a look at that stretch.
Yeah,
run
let's
while
take a
we're
look
talking,
at this.
too. With the move to the dirt yesterday, that was a question mark, certainly.
You didn't have it. You didn't think about
I did. I had a lot of worries. I ate a lot of ginger yesterday. My stomach wasn't good. There was a lot of pressure here in that you have a filly that is the head of her class, and you don't want to let her down. You don't want to do something. And the good news is for us, we keep all our records. We have everything. I went back and I looked at, she worked on December 19th, 5/8 of a mile at Palm Meadows. I worked her with a really good horse, another good horse called Dream On. And I watched her work and watched her gallop out. And that was and then after a conversation with John Green, he goes, look, we're for running. Let's run. And we kind of wanted to run her on the dirt at some point, but she ran so well in the Breeders' Cup. Now we're sitting in the wintertime. We didn't really want to ship out of South Florida. Wasn't going to run her against Lacara in the Sun Coast. So we just went to the grass. And, she's winning. And yesterday was an opportunity. Jose was funny. He said, when I knew we won or winner? He said, when I warmed her up. He said, she loves this stuff.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Well, then two questions. And she's a Medaglia d'Oro out of an Uncle Mo. So,
believe me, I analyzed her pedigree all day,
Exactly.
all morning yesterday. Her mom did win on the dirt. Her mom wasn't a very good horse.
She was well named, though. after the Diamonds Are Forever.
Right. Uncle
Tiffany
Mo's,
case.
I find, about 75% of the Uncle Mo's are turf horses.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with Medaglia. I have had a few good Medaglia dirt horses, but for the most part, they're better grass horses. So, yeah.
I've been on Border since last year. We went up to cover the Woodbine Mile. I picked her on top on the TV, and at mid-stretch at about 40-1. I thought, oh,
was that in the Natalma?
Yeah.
What a Natalma for us. We had Ann One More Time won. She got hurt shortly after that, and she's just now coming back. That's
good.
The Live Oak filly,
Vixen,
and then Nitrogen. Pretty darn good.
Not a bad trifecta.
Pretty good 3 fillies.
Well, and then of course in the Breeders' Cup, I mean, she ran very well.
Well, she ran
into a monster.
She ran into trouble. She was going to give that monster all she wanted. She got stopped about the 4.5. Probably it would have been close.
Well, I'm not going to argue that.
That day too at 40-1.
Yeah.
But then I've since
50-1.
Since picked up a few win tickets, but not at the same prices. But she's been good right from the get-go.
You got a world of options here in terms of another dirt try or back to the grass and what 91 buyer, by the way, the career best.
Yeah. I thought it might even be a little better. Very tough to.
Well, when you win by 17.
Yeah, and it's a tough number to figure out.
Exactly.
Because, we had a difference in track all day. Track started drying out.
Exactly.
So it's hard to know. That'll be a question that I'll have to go over with the Greens, DJ Stable. Right now, I see us probably going back to the turf. We're finally going to get some grade ones.
That's true.
On the turf.
That's true.
Probably go there, and but who knows? We know what Lacara is going to do. She's going to stay on the dirt.
Yeah, good point. And what about distance with her? How far, when it comes to those turf opportunities, how far do you think she wants to go?
Nitrogen?
Yeah.
As far as they want to go. Because
3/8.
nitrogen's wonderful in that she shuts off. Right? So she can do whatever you want her to do. So it doesn't matter.
Compare her to Catch a Glimpse.
Catch a Glimpse was just a runoff. She would go as fast. She would be more the Lacara on the turf. Catch a Glimpse was funny. So we ran Catch a Glimpse here first time out, and she lost it. Completely lost it. And I thought she was pretty good. And I got her out of here. I said, if I keep running her here, she couldn't handle the crowd. And I sent her to Woodbine. And, the rest is history. She went on and won the Breeders' Cup and did that. So, right now, people, are starting to compare Nitrogen to Tepin. And as I said to them, at this point in time, Nitrogen would be far ahead of Tepin.
Sure.
Because Tepin was just an average 3-year-old. She didn't become great until she was 4.
Well, that's one of the great stories of the clocking. We were all at Derby getting ready for that year's Derby, and the only horse everybody was talking about was Tepin, who every morning was like, I mean, Bridman, Welsh. It's all anybody cared about. Who do you like in the Derby? Well, whatever. Tepin is who I'm. If in the Edgewood or not the Edgewood, it was the Distaff Turf Mile.
No, I think. Oh yeah,
Distaff Turf Mile. It was like. The horse I'm betting on is Tepin.
Yeah.
That's all anybody talked about.
It's funny because, what's crazy? We had her in California, Del Mar, and as a 3-year-old, she ran and barely finished the race and came back. And Mr. Masterson said, I said, let's just send her home. I always call homes Ocala for us. And we sent her home, gave her a couple months off, and she never looked back.
Let's look ahead quickly. The Jaipur today, my boy Prince.
I'm excited about him.
Good.
I think, it's a tough race. I thought his race coming back was really good. It wasn't going to hurt our feelings if they actually brought it off. I was kind of excited to run him on the dirt, but we'll run on the grass today. I think he'll be a factor in there.
Good. And Corruption in the Manhattan?
Corruption is, he's a horse star. He broke his maiden for 35, and he's just gotten better and better. Jose is not going to be able to ride him today, so we're still I haven't even found a replacement rider. Jose's had a death in his wife's family, and he was going to a funeral today, so he was never riding on today. So now I got to figure that out.
And is Abiento staying in the
No.
Scratch? Yeah. All right. And you won the Queenston yesterday, right? With the
No, the Queenston's today.
Today.
Fury. We won the Fury yesterday.
The Fury with Winterberry.
Yeah. The horse that I was really excited about yesterday was we had a horse break his maiden at Gulfstream called Strategic Risk.
Yeah.
2-year-old. I trained mom and dad for Mr. Oxley. I think he's a good horse. I sent him to South Florida because he was a Florida bred. But he's going to be on a van here next day or two coming here for the Sanford.
There we go. He's a noble bird. How about that?
Yeah.
For Jack, so it's one of
Yeah.
house,
He's a really
kind of a house horse.
He's a beautiful horse.
Out of an Fleet Alex mare.
Yeah.
Interesting. Strategic Risk yesterday in the debut. Mark, well done. Congratulations. Are you hanging around for a couple days or no?
I'm hanging around today.
Today.
We fly out tomorrow. We have a horse sale getting ready to happen in Ocala.
Got the June sale.
We'll do that. We'll get all everything ready, and we'll be back here for opening day.
Mark Casse, everybody, and a very successful weekend. Nitrogen stays in the Wonder Again off the turf, and La Cara follows up with her second Grade 1 of the year, and I think everybody assumed that Good Cheer was the 3-year-old champion in the clubhouse, but
Wait a
it's a
second.
long season.
Yeah, we're not giving up
It's a
on that one.
long season.
Nitrogen may have just thrown her name in.
Holy cow!
hat.
You're surrounding her.
Yeah, we're not.
Red Day, you won a stakes race too.
Yeah. He
Oh,
ran
that's
well.
true. That's true.
We're not giving up that title just yet.
Not so quick.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break, and we've got a lot more to do. Cherie Devaux standing by, and we'll talk to Cherie about the most exciting turf horse, perhaps in training.
Another Natalma winner.
There you go. She feels pretty. Cherie Devaux joins us next. Loose on the lead on this Sunday to close out this year's Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. Stay with us. Capital OTB back after this.
It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Back on Loose on the Lead on this Sunday morning to close out the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. Cherie Devaux wins a Grade 1. She's going to be on the show. If you won a Grade 2, you'd be on. If you won a Grade 3, you'd be on the show.
Just how it is.
It's exactly how it is. She feels pretty, and when you start hearing people murmur, best turf horse in training, it's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, a little pressure, but feels really good. we put a lot of work into her, and it's been very rewarding. So very excited.
Why don't we take a look at the stretch run here and just comment second start of the year. What were your thoughts as they went around the track the other day?
Well, it definitely was a lot that went into it just in the decision to even run, especially it started raining and it looked like it was going to be a quick passing storm, and kind of hung around a lot longer than any of us wanted it to. And we were really just hoping that she just put in a good effort, and then all that goes out the window when she's really fighting for it. But she's all class and really just wants to win. So it's just very exciting. And I was just so excited for the Jacksons. They couldn't make it. It's a bit late for them. So I'm just really elated for them and their family.
Big performance, obviously, and again, had won the Modesty to start the year with a nice performance. John Velasquez has been aboard virtually the entire career. He's on board again the other day. Was this the game plan right when you came out of the Modesty to shoot for this?
Yes, we laid out a plan pretty much with the Modesty to start off the year, the New York, the Diana, and then we have some wiggle room at the end of the year with either the Flower Bowl or like the Beverly D, and then maybe freshen up and go to the Breeders' Cup.
How'd she come out of it?
Very good, very good, thankfully.
Hanging out with the goat?
She is hanging out with the goat. The goat didn't fare so well. We jogged him up being funny yesterday, and then now the goat's got something wrong with his foot, and we spare no expense or labor, so he was in the foot tub this morning, and the goat is its own.
It's his own problem.
He is a pain in the rear end.
They all are.
I know.
They're either eating all the shrubbery and the flowers. That's never good.
Well, no, the goat is on a short leash, but the goat has had a kidney stone removed. Now we've got foot problems. And if the goat wasn't there just for her, trust me, the goat would have not be around for very long.
Well, you put that goat in front of the Barat family, and there'll be a curried goat in a
minute.
You
know what? I mean, luckily for her, that goat has a wonderful life. And, Gretchen said that goat's going to her when it's done. So Mickey has a long, fulfilling life ahead of him.
Does the attending vet take care of the goat too?
Ours does. That goat is a priority. It's been made very clear. It's made a big difference in her life. It's not like I'm not one of those kitschy people who does things for attention, but for her, it has made a big deal in her life. And it's, it was like the last puzzle piece to make her content and happy. And so Mickey the goat, and she feels pretty. It's like 1 and 1A.
Out of curiosity, because everybody that saw Seabiscuit remembers, when they were trying different things for Sea, and one of the things, the goat gets kicked out of the stall. How do you audition a stall companion for?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you how it happened.
Go
really.
ahead.
So it was like, so we were out at Breeders' Cup as a 2-year-old, and she just was never settled in her stall, and she has this
stall walk.
No, she doesn't stall walk. She just has this like worrisome, and she. She frets, and you can definitely see it on her face. She's up at the stall, she's back at the stall, she just never relaxes. You can see it on her face. And we have the infamous Jack Russells, and they would go in there, searching for mice, and she nuzzles them, and she like sees them, and she wants to play with them, and they don't really, they're afraid of the horses. Like they definitely know to stay away from them. So we have a cat, sleeps on her hay net, and she'd nuzzle the cat, and you could just see that she wants a companion. So it all happened when we have a nice young lady who works for us. Her name is Amber, and we spare no expense for any of our animals. And the guinea pig was going to the vet.
That's right. The guinea. I forgot about the guinea pig.
So Amber brought the guinea pig on her way home from the vet, was dropping something off at the barn, and the office staff wanted to see this damn guinea pig. And I said, let me go see if she likes the guinea pig. And I brought the guinea pig over, and I held it in front of her, and she nuzzled the guinea pig, and she just you could see the stress melt away. She was just nuzzling the guinea pig. And you could just see this content look go over her face. And I said, that's it. And Facebook Lexington Equine Group found Mickey the goat. And then here's Mickey the goat now. And it's just, but I mean, you see her, she not a care in the world. I mean, it just made such a difference in her life.
It's amazing.
And
it's like you and David. You look at David now.
That's not good. See these gray hairs I have? Some of it's from horse training. The other is from David.
I love it. This is so funny. She feels pretty and unbelievable. A hard-fought victory, and she'd lost the Lake Placid on off-going last year.
Right. Yeah, and I think some of that could have been the going, but we also added the blinkers, and I think the blinkers has really been a turnaround for her.
She was more, I don't want to say grindy, and it's probably the conditions.
Right.
As opposed to what we saw at Churchill, where she was just explosive.
Right, and I do think that was the conditions.
Yeah. Nice. She feels pretty. Now 7 for 10. With a second and 2/3. Never off the board, and actually piling up the money too, right?
Yeah, well,
1.7.
1.7.
1.7.
So I'm assuming she stays up here, right?
Yeah, we don't have that in stone, but we are going to leave a majority of the horses that competed this week and leave them up here. Just no reason to ship back, but get them settled and ready to make their next starts here.
So what's your game plan as we go here with the kind of a different summer with Belmont at Saratoga? What do you do from here, and then as far as traditional Saratoga?
Well, so I'm based in Kentucky, and even now we had a number 2-year-old ship in as we've been up here for just a couple days. So I've got to go back. And these horses that all ran, they're just going to have an easy couple weeks. So when they get back ready to breeze, I'll have to just make it in my schedule to spend a couple days up here. But life of a horse trainer, we live on the airplanes. So we'll just have to make it work. But that is what it is at this time. And so I'll just get my suitcase packed and get the mobile office ready.
And summertime, you're here in Ellis.
Here in Kentucky. So we'll be in a few different spots in Kentucky, but just in Kentucky and here.
Okay.
Cherie, a couple other things. Kyrou ran okay.
She ran well. I mean, she'd been off for 8 months. Yeah. She ran a top buyer, if you go by buyers. Cool. So, she came out. She ran well. She came out of that well. So can't complain.
Nice. That was, of course, in the Intercontinental. Depiction picked up the last minor award in the Boca.
Yeah. Kind of overthought that. I'll give myself the brunt of it. Took him out of his game. Wanted to put him in better position, and he's a closer, so that was my fault.
Where do you go from here with Justine?
I'm just going to regroup. Very frustrating filly. She trains really well. She looks fantastic. In her first 2 races, she showed a lot more gate speed. Then now she's reverted back to her old tactics, which I'm really not sure what to do with. So I don't know if she's just giving us the middle finger on life. I don't know if we try to do more gate work with her. It's just kind of a head scratcher. She has it in her, but just gives herself way too much to do. Yeah. The talent is in there. I don't know. Maybe I'll hire an animal communicator. I don't know. They can talk to Mickey and they can talk to her.
Is Hey Birdie staying in today?
She is. She broke her dirt. She broke her maiden in an off the turf race. So
nice.
No reason not to run her. She's up here.
Exactly. The Soaring Softly, and then Saturday.
I had Tommy Bellhouse the other day. Got Vava coming up with a stake down at Churchill, right?
Yes. She's going to run back into Chicago.
How's she doing?
Really well. The Derby City Distaff came up a killer race, and she came off the layoff. She definitely needed the race, but she's trained forwardly since. Looks fantastic. So they did make it a grade 2 from a grade 3. We'll take some credit for that for winning it last year, but she looks great, and looking forward to getting her back again.
Very good.
Brilliant birdie out of the Arlington last week.
Really well. He's going back to the Wise Dan.
Cool, nice. And the sibling,
Ahava.
Ahava's,
Ahava. We gave her she had a little juvenile tendonitis, then she had another minor setback. So again, I think her best days are ahead of her. So might be targeting a fall campaign with her.
Retribution, Amsterdam Jerkins.
There's the Maxfield right now at Churchill.
First,
so,
okay. All right. We'll
I think that's in the immediate future, and then we'll kind of go from there with him.
And Reagan's Wit.
So we have States Rights was going to run here in the Pennine Ridge, and we'd already scratched because he needs a firm turf. So we have
10 Mile.
Well, we have 3 of them. So we have Reagan's Wit, States Rights, and a new horse, and Straight Cash is his name. He broke his maiden impressively out in California, and we acquired him. So we have the American Derby, I believe it's called, at Churchill. The Penn Mile, and the Manila. And so we kind of have those 3 working around, and we're probably inclined to go to the Penn Mile again with States Rights, and probably the Manila, and Reagan's Wit is saying he's still in Kentucky. So kind of have those 3 working, and we'll just see where they all fit best. But they're all doing really well. So those 3 are kind of in those races and pointing around towards them.
Who's the most exciting 2-year-old that we're going to be waiting for?
Well, I have some sentimental ones. I have Lady Eli's colt by Into Mischief. And, I'm not touting any horses, but I will go with the sentimental ones. And we named him. There were 2 podiatrists that worked on Lady Eli. Dr. Fraley was the one who sought out the rest of her care, and he was from Kentucky and flew in, and Dr. Agnew was up here, and he was one of the first equine podiatrists of the trade, and he really relocated from Lexington to here. He's kind of winding down, and they were starting a podiatry sector here, and one of his last visits for her was at the end of the summer. He was saying, we're not going to see me anymore. And he was talking about he was cycling. And unfortunately, he got killed on Labor Day cycling. So I had told Chad and the team, I said, well, we have to name one of our offspring, Dr. Agnew. And so his name is Dr. Agnew. And he's training really well. He just worked 5/8 the other day really well. So we're hoping to debut him early Saratoga. Nice. So a little sentimental. So hopefully he makes it up here. And but we've got a lot of really nice, exciting 2-year-olds. But we're not pushing them. So we'll see who makes it up here. A lot of them get started in Kentucky and then come up here. But we'll see.
David down to OBS. You guys going down?
David is, and Reagan and I will hold down the fort in Kentucky. It's a tough job, but 2 of us need to do it.
Cherie Devaux, she feels pretty, and obviously way more. Cherie's killing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Seth,
all right, we'll wrap.
We will wrap, but not before I present you with Sally Ellen from Country Life. Came up from Maryland for the weekend, and second new tie that Sally Ellen has. That'd be nice with that, actually.
Yeah.
Right?
Excellent.
That's a Maryland Jockey Club tie, and Sally Ellen and her friend they were cleaning out Pimlico. I got a Pimlico sign that from the elevator out of order, which a running joke at Pimlico, and she got me a sweater vest. Pimlico, and an old Preakness jacket, Triple Crown, the Visa Triple Crown bonus. So thank you to Sally Ellen.
Knowing the whole story, Sally Ellen had already sent me a couple of years ago a whole slew of that, and I've worn some of those, so I have to thank her for those as well. But I'll thank her for these on the air. And I saw her in the paddock yesterday, the day before, and they said, "Steve give you the tie?" And I said, no. And they said, "Oh, he'll give it to you on TV, I'm sure."
Exactly.
Everybody knows the drill, as it were.
Well, this is a big acquisition because it increases or it lowers the percentage of likelihood that you're wearing a Sacco Ties tie.
That's right. Mormino on the handicapping show this morning said, "That's not your tie, right?" And I said, "No." And he said, "I thought it was probably one of the big Sacco ties." Pretty easy to figure out. I'm fairly conservative usually with the tie, but now I've upped my game through you. So All right.
It's
and
a full.
again,
It's a full job to
thanks
keep
to Sally
Seth
for the update. As
well dressed.
All right, we'll wrap it up here as we wrap up the morning programming for Saratoga at Belmont. Back in obviously July 4th weekend to kick things off, which is still technically a Belmont at Saratoga kind of a thing, and then opening day on the 10th as well. So looking forward to the return, but we're kicking off the 2025 season here, loose on the lead this weekend, but you can check back in about 4 weeks. We'll be back for more, and then into the Saratoga season as well. Well, we appreciate you tuning in. Great day today. I mean, the weather's great, temperature's great. Stop up. Don't forget, all turf races are off except for the rescheduled Grade 1 turfs, races 12 and 13, and rescheduled from yesterday. So keep that in mind, and readjust your handicapping as is necessary. But we'll wrap it up. Stay tuned. Talking Horses from NYRA up next. We'll see you back in the studio later in the week.
From the backstretch at Saratoga, this is Loose on the Lead with Steve Byk and Seth Merrow. Loose on the Lead is sponsored by